Okay, we're at measure 27 of the Schumann Piano Quintet, first movement. I'll go back 2 measures. So we're in D flat, excuse me, G flat. Surely there's something a little more convenient than just moving your hand over. But there really doesn't seem to be too bad for us. Well, make one small adjustment here. The left hand. Speaking of me. That's fourth finger here that I want and like. Fourth. Okay, I'm going to skip. Fourth is still useful there. Comes in a third time. Okay, we're at measure, and a tempo after un poco ritardando. And this third finger. So useful. Nice. Double note thumb. Choices, so little time. 1, 3. Black, white, tritone on the right hand, 1, 3. Not a nice thing. 1, 2 is so much nicer, but because of where it comes from, where it's heading, it could go to 5. Conflict. And look, it's not an issue. No? In this case, comfort is going to win out. So I'm going to make the bigger move to 5-2, just because it seems to be actually more consistent because of the groove of that hand position. And this is the A natural one. After all those A flats. Then I went to 4. Makes it that much harder to get to 4 here from from white to white because my hand is turned in a different way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the fingering after the A natural, after the sixth, and go to fifth finger instead of fourth, because then I can nestle into this tritone. Very nice. And then yes. That gives a whole different feel to the whole passage. Even though there's only one note different, it shifts completely the feel of the passage. Now this, yeah. Merit the same shift. That's it. I think it does. I'm going to stick with going to 5 and 5 to 2. Think about the left a lot, so that gives me a clarity of what I expect with the sensation, so I don't have to look at it. And then this. Not quite in the light. Yes. Slow it down. Be aware of that left hand motion, I'm going to actually voice it a little more firmly and bring down the right. That gives me awareness. Nice! And immediately the awareness makes a huge difference. I found the right octave, yes. End of exposition. Is to write down a reinforced thumb, 1 and 2 together. It'll give me a much more defined sensation. eighth notes. But what gives me a little bit of trouble here is, again, the readability of it and the familiarity of the gestures. More particularly, that I can't read as fast as I need to be able to play. I certainly can't read well in A flat minor. I don't know how many people do, but anyway. But if I can remember physically the sense of the line, then I'll be fine. I can get a good fingering in my left hand. First inversion A flat chord, coming from this diminished chord, 1, 2, 5. I tried to go to 1, 2, 4, but really that rotation is severe for my hand, and it doesn't grab nearly as well as putting my fifth finger on the white note, nestling in, much less motion, so I'm much happier with that. That could be the whole reason behind it. The difficulty to begin with is the fingering issue. Finger makes a lot of difference. That little bit of ease. It's a little odd, this last B flat, E flat in the right hand. I could go 1, 1, 3, but my hand just prefers just spread out and play 2 and 5 on the 2 black notes. It also sets up the fourth finger that I'm going to play next on E flat. Up this section that I've pondered before. I'm going to do this hand separately because I haven't reinforced it enough in the last few days, and I need a reminder of accuracy and ease and concept. A flat minor. And that I haven't written down quite enough. I wanted to go 4-2-1 in this pseudo D minor chord, but what precedes it is an E flat, and my grouping is 1 note too short, I think. I want to remind myself, whereas normally I'd go to 2 after thumb, I want my hand to shift over 1 note earlier, and I hadn't marked the third finger, so that's too little. Too late. 3, 3, yes. That makes a difference. 4 and 3. 5, 4, 5, 3. Right. Little things are so important. Let's go back. I've written. 4, I can't read my own writing. Ah, I wrote in. I thought it was a fingering. 4, 2, 1. That doesn't make sense. 5, 5, 4 turns my hand up. 5, 4, then 4, 2. Okay. Okay. I had made a certain amount of sense. This pseudo F sharp chord was 5, 4, 2, so I could turn over to the thumb on G. But then ultimately it was 4, 2, 1 when it was a part of a chain of these things. So. Last time like this. All these 4 2s, I still make it. Third, there I marked a third. I marked in, that works. That sounded hard, but what I was doing was reminding myself of the fingering, seeing if what I had written was appropriate for my hand, finding whether or not there was some kind of a course of action that was plotted out well. So I have to remember where I am in my practice process here, that I want to know that what I think I want to do, that what my planning is clear enough, has good intentions, and if it needs to be adjusted, that I adjust it. I do not want to start drilling and drilling when I'm not sure that it makes sense to me. So now I'm able to go back. But you know what? Because so often in these kinds of sections and in pieces where you always have certain trouble spots, you always go back to the same spot. I think I'm going to work somewhat backwards. Give myself the feeling of accomplishment, this time at least. Another time I might work from the middle. I'm going to go. This is after about a page worth. This is where I'm going to do a bunch of 4 2s. 4 2, 4 2, 4 2, 4 2. F minor here. A lot more white notes. The few that, from my hand, 4 normally would work better for that interval. I don't know why I wrote 3. It's possible I've written 4 and then 3 and then 4 and then 3. I don't care. Today, without much thought, the 4 works better. Okay, so this, that's good. Good. So these ascending arpeggios, of course, they're essentially one musical unit. If I'm thinking a lot between groups there, it's going to be too much. And that's why I have to test out this fingering, like when I go 5-3, when I go 5-4. I can do it like that. Seems reasonable. Also seems reasonable. Yes. Or practicing the transition lets me know that my choreography and my thought process link those groups together. A little rotation there is really important. Nice. Now I'm playing it much faster than the piece demands here, and lighter as well. Although my partners might not say so. Because I want to know that I'm way beyond what I need to be able to do. Yeah. So it starts to feel like a unit. In other words, I'm building a larger unit. Now the shift, if I started from here, this pseudo C-sharp chord, I keep using that term pseudo because it's harmonically not written that way and it's not heard that way. But as far as my body is concerned, C-sharp nature. So, starting from there, it's a little bit odd, but it's chosen to get me up the octave because it gets me the thumb on the D, readies me for the big leap. Getting to it is somewhat different. So I have to be aware of that transition. Now, there's one advantage. I'm playing alone at that point. So I certainly don't want to rush. Procedurally, logically, in terms of planning, I discovered if I try to grab that whole position, I'm much less likely to succeed than if I simply decide what's an easy transition from this position, which is really optimized with the third finger on the black note, to have my arm turn my hand so that the fifth is delivered to the G sharp easily without regard for the ensuing F. So there's absolutely no resistance to my arms delivering my hand to that G sharp or A flat. Now the question is, can I continue to the F? Now it's obviously the wrong rhythm because my breath is in a radically wrong musical place. Fourth finger to be comfortable on that F. Some of you can probably just reach across or stick your fourth finger on the narrow neck of the F. I can't. I need the extra space. So. All right. The same notes up an octave are different in feel because the angle is different. I need, nonetheless, to commit to that outward gesture to the F, otherwise the F won't speak. It's amazing how much easier this one is with the white note in the middle. Much more space for my hand, for my finger. Flattish chord gives me a tilt here. Okay, and by having a sense for each of those inclinations, I learn the passage with more confidence, tilt my hand, and it plays itself. 3 black notes. That's easier than black, white, black. For this finger, here's my unfavorite. So I have to be curious about the fact that I've got black, white, black here. It somehow feels easier than this. So I have to wonder, why is that? And again, that's the nature of the geography of the keyboard. I don't know if I can measure this. I'll explain what I'm doing in a moment. Well, actually, what I'm doing is measuring the width of the neck of the white note here. So it's an optical illusion. I think there's the same amount of white space on the F as there is on the G, at least on my piano. But the distance from here to here, because this black note is further away, because it cuts more deeply into the B than the G, excuse me, than the F sharp cuts into the G. I hope I said that right, but you get my drift. This distance is actually bigger than this distance. And somehow that makes the gesture slightly easier. It's a little bizarre to me. Again, I have these bizarre third fingers that I've written, like just before what I call rehearsal number 7, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which is also rehearsal number G. Going into the second beat, I had third finger, my body played fourth. I choose to agree with my body in this case. For many of you, third will be better. For me, it's not. So I'm going to go back. Not bad. All black. Black, white, black. Okay, not fast, but it's continuous and it's accurate. I've got to keep that movement outward into the white note and feel not overly exposed here, but rather feel that even the F, even the fourth finger on its own, is supported by the rest of the hand, so as if I were going like that. And again, go to the isolated fifth, do not worry about the whole hand. Find a hand position that will give you that first note of the new group, or the new place. Yep, tilt. Blacks a sixth apart. Officially a seventh apart, just like a sixth. Black notes. Okay, so I have black, white, black, black, white, a tilt, all black, a mixture. Okay. Need to take advantage of those natural musical spaces where nobody's crowding me. In other words, let's see, if I'm coming from here, start, and start, and start, and start. I think my partners can pick that up, and if they didn't automatically, I would make note of it because it's very useful for me. And I think it's musically compelling to start the new key with a sense of embrace, declamation, and D flat, and F sharp. Almost. anticipated the octave and was missing the top note. If I find the right angle just for the top G flat, finding the bottom G flat is easy. If I crowd myself by aiming for a straight in octave, I run the risk that I really don't optimize the way I play the G flat. So, okay. No, I haven't forgotten about the left hand, but let's see. Pondering fingerings. Right now I've got 1 and 3 when I have white black, 1 and 2 rather, going to 1 and 3, 1 and 3 on the 2 white notes, 1 and 2 on the 2 black notes, and 1 and 2 again. So let's see. That means 1 and 2, 3 out of the 4 times. The only time on 1, 3 being with the 2 white notes. Is that even worth it? Certainly, for sheer comfort on the second chord, 1 and 3 going to 2, 4 with 2 on the black note, that's nice. But is the inconsistency worth it? That's what I've got to figure out. So I'm going to try. A little bit too much time, you know. Fling mode, when I'm just going for it at tempo, I have to look at the keyboard, or I want to look at the keyboard a little bit for security. Not a whole lot. Let me try to describe what I'm looking at. The right hand, the left hand, then the right, the left hand. There's a very quick shift. Find out for me what I looked at. Oh, yeah. Surprise, G flat chord. Okay. In terms of refinement, I'm discovering that I'm more or less getting placement. Some of the notes are not speaking optimally because this particular passage is optimized for certain fingers and not other ones. It's easier to get to certain keys with these fingers. So I've got to let my ear be the determining factor here. My ear has to tell me when I'm satisfied. I played 1 and 3 here. I don't care. It worked. The other thing I'm noticing is my left hand has plenty of time. It has a quarter note and a quarter note rest to find its way to the next position. I need to take advantage of that. So it won't be distracting to my right hand sleep. Left hand has been taken care of. Then I worry about my right hand. Left hand is taken care of. Left hand. Okay. I have no idea why I'm going to 1-3 here instead of 1-2 that I've for the others. Maybe because no. Maybe my hand just loves that 2-4 white black in the left hand. Who knows? In any event, I'm getting somewhere with this. I still will need to reinforce it, but I'm really feeling I'm in the groove. So now I'll work backwards a bit to where we were before. So unusual after I've been turning so often to suddenly go straight and go 4-2-1-2 instead of 5-4-2-1 and leap up. So that's another thing. No, I already had. This is not the first of the eighth quarter things in the left hand. But because it's a page turn, I'm going to start from here. And then a parallel. Boy. Pretty funny, I'm telling myself, ooh, I hate that feeling in the left hand, and I looked up, and that's not the fingering I chose. And so, am I ever smart? Well, let's see if what I wrote is smart. It's a little better anyway. Okay, home. That's the thing, when I got to what I had just rehearsed, I was going towards the familiar. Too often when you start from the beginning of something, you go towards the unfamiliar. So the result is your confidence tends to shrink. But if you've already done the end, you have an inviting goal, you have a carrot, you've done something major and effortful, and you've decided that you've prepared your reward. It's sitting there on the table waiting for you. That's kind of what this feels like, to work backwards in chunks. So, that's obviously this descending arpeggio, a big chunk that needs to be solidified. A big decision, or the big instruction for me is to turn to 2-1 on the left, because that feels better with the right hand in parallel. Not bad. Not great. Obviously, I wouldn't want to thump that. I'm thumping the idea. I might not even like this idea. I might want to split the difference. Very often when you have 3 notes and you have 5 fingers to deal with, coming from 5 going to 1 or coming from 1 to going to 5, splitting the difference makes a lot of sense. You distribute the motion. And I think that I like it. In fact, I do tend to like this. After 6, which is also F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go 1, 2, 5. Third finger, so it's 5, 3, 1, a 3-note scale. So that I was going 5, 2, 1, and that means it's better for the bottom, but worse for getting to the second note. So the second key. So by going 5, 3, 1, my hand just moves over one little bit at a time. I like it. Let's see. 3. You know it. The moment I tell myself to do that, I want to do it too. It feels odd because I'm used to 2. But 3 actually does tend to work. The extra length of the finger means I can come out here really comfortably on 3. And the third is that both hands will play 3. That's a real, I think that will be the ultimate selling point, that there's a sense of symmetry in the gesture at that point. Oh. attention has to go to where the left hand enters. So I'm here. Think left hand. 3. All right. Think left. What I didn't think was the change of finger, and I don't know. Wouldn't you know that my right hand has started to behave differently from what I told it to? It started to go 5-4 instead of 4-2 on these descending things. Okay. Here's where you have to have you have two choices, emotional choices. One is you can be exasperated with the fact that you can't make up your mind. Two is you can be constantly amused by what you learn from yourself. You know, under fire, which is to say, without a whole lot of thinking and going for it and finding some kind of a tempo and finding some kind of symmetry with the other hand, my hand has reverted to going 5-4-2-1. Whoops. Instead of the seemingly smart new fingering, 4-2-1. And I'm not going to fight it, of course. I've got to realize after a few days that there's got to be something that reinforces itself and says, we're settled. Right now, I don't know what that is. Right now, at this tempo, I'm feeling good going back to 5-4, which I think, who knows what I played 40 years ago. All I know is it's 5 today. All right. Okay. Go back to the previous page. I think I'll go up to the top of the passage. Ascending arpeggios that are important. The others are just oscillating back and forth between 8-note groups. Okay. There's a skip finger here that, although I've been taking it for granted, I have to write 5-3-1, now 3-4-2-1-2. I've got to write that down 3 as a reminder. I don't want to do all this, learn a good thing, and come back to it sometime later and have nothing be there, no trace of my experience. So. Yes. All right. Same basic principle. Yes. After so many turns, 4-2 may still be a good idea. I remember liking it when I made the decision at the very, very end. It's an exception fingering, which is why I'm always suspicious an exception for that particular arrangement of keys. In that particular context. Let's go back. Adding this thing, left hand, reminding myself of the tie that I ignored before. Pages. something I will need to get used to. Oops. I need at least to practice that much, you know. Whether I need to, I don't think I need to duplicate it and see it, but if that paid off, then that's what I would do. I need that much. Okay. So then there's continuity over the page turn, which I need to know I can do. In case you're wondering what happens when there's a slow page turn or something like that, those are the things you need to know. How to link to the next page without necessarily seeing it. And there it is. So we go back. Assuming that I assumed something, namely that I would be doing 5/3 each time. But since my assumption wasn't clear, I'm just going to help myself out a little. 3, 3, 4, 3. 3, 3, 4, 3. Half notes too long. They actually have dots on them. Even if they didn't have dots on them, I would have to take the time to move. Having the dots empowers me to let them go early, which makes it much easier to get in position. So. Let go, let go, let go. 3. Fingering 5/3 and then 4/2/1. This is exactly what I used at the beginning. That's my standard fingering. But every key feels a little different. I've got to make sure I remind myself of that. This comes from a black note to the 3 white notes. This does too. Not a whole lot of difference in sensation, other than this comes from 2 black notes, then to 1 black note. Turn means that this one should be easier, because this chord is ever so slightly easier for the hand, I think, than this one, because of the 2 white notes for the 2 short fingers. So, let me go back to there. Let go left. Let me slow this down. They're both black, black, white, white thumb, but the top interval is a 3rd here and it's a 4th here. So I simply have to negotiate that sensation. I have to have that sensation more or less under my hand, not completely, because I'm going to the E flat before I'm going to the chord. But part of my choreography has got to be to get that 4th ready. So. Even a slightly more splayed out hand will make the fingers extend more, and make the 4th more immediately accessible. So, open up, that's it. Open up. I feel like a dentist. Okay, let's go back. get that note. So I need to just get that. I'm coming from it too. So it's not as if I'm wanting to reach it. I want the choreography to have my arm carry comfortably. There'll be a slight curvature to the gesture because I'm attached to joints that make me curve. So are you, by the way. So. Rhythm starts to intensify. Wrong note. I should really have practiced the transitions. That much. Conflating two portions of the passage. That I'm happy of.